here for a long time, but I just wanna have a little fun. I got a G2C with about 26 rounds, taking everything from everyone. I ain't here for a long time, but I just wanna do my thing. I need the money from your mama, I don't wanna hear you holler. Give it up and I'll be on my way. I ain't here for a long.
Hello, this is a brand new show. I'm your host, 24 Eyes, and we got something exciting going on today. That's right. I know we've been looking for some more content because me and Skelly have been dipping. Our schedules have changed. All kinds of things are changing up the channel, so we're doing some new stuff. So here's a new show that I'm going to be doing, and it's an interview show. So we're going to talk to some people, and we're going to talk about some cool pop culture, all the stuff that we love, that we grew up with, and new stuff that we can enjoy nowadays. So today, my first guest, which I'm super stoked about, is the one and only death metal hero. You're going to find him all over the comic book scene. He's going to be doing a little bit of work. You might catch him on Dan Fraga's Fraga June, and probably here in the next coming monthly event doing some badass drawing. You might catch him with Boob Dan doing some art there too. You never know where you're going to see him, but here's our guest at Death Metal Hero. How's it going,
sir? What's up, 24 Eyes? Thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's exciting, a new show, you know?
I know.
It's talking about things we love in pop culture, man. Oh, well, yeah, of course. Starting a new show is always nerve-wracking.
Well, and I always have a partner, you know what I mean? And he likes to start the show, so now I had to start the show. I was like, oh, I have to start the show. I have to say hello. What's going on?
Yep. You know, it'll help you grow as a host, man. Absolutely.
Definitely. All right. You can also catch Luke doing some badass karaoke on his channel here and there.
That's right. The sing-along of doom, where I take your favorite radio hits and butcher them horribly. That's a lot of fun. You know, every so often I'll surprise you and actually sing one nicely, but yeah, usually it's just horrendous.
Hey, I think you're always improving your setup. I think you should come by and check out Luke and support him and help him prop him up, because I think that we can do better and better shows with the community's help. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, actually, in the course of doing my sing-along of Doom, I've actually had a lot of new songs added to, you know, my playlist, because it just started out as a bunch of stuff like, hey, you know, this would be fun to sing. You know, I like this song. I'd like to sing it, and it was just me doing vocal practice in the garage, and I was like, well, you know what? The channel needs content, and you know, I'm trying to get over my whole stage fright thing. So this is kind of a way to sing in front of people. So I started live streaming it, and you know, it's surprisingly become one of the more popular shows that I have. I mean, I never would have guessed I would have people like, you know, actually tuning in to listen to me sing. But you know, it's fun, man.
I could never imagine that. My neighbors get constant performances from me because I'm that kind of asshole. I'm 38 years old. I live in an apartment by myself. My kid, I'm divorced. My kids live with their mom, and I wake up at like odd hours, and so sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes at 7 p.m., sometimes like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I plug in my amps into my computer. And then I plug my microphone into one of them, you know, and I just go full. I full bore jam out for an audience of one.
That's right, man. Sometimes you got to, you know. And whenever I listen to metal, the neighbors listen to metal as well.
I think that's the only way to do it. Do it loud.
Well, I mean, hey, man, it's heavy metal. It's got to be played loud. Otherwise, you know, it doesn't have the impact. But luckily, where I do the sing-along of Doom, it's in a garage, and you know, it's fairly well insulated. I usually try not to go too super late because they're not my neighbors, they're my mom's neighbors. You know, it's also where my gym is. You know, I have a in-home gym, in-garage gym over there, so it's combination green screen, recording studio, and gym. So
dude,
if I got free weights, and I've got my my cable machine, and I've got an elliptical out there. So yeah.
Well, I'm always hanging on the fringes, right? So I know what you're talking about because I have musician buddies, but all my musician friends are like punk rockers and underground rappers, and so they got the makeshift setup in the studio, you know.
Hey man, you do whatever works, man.
You'd be surprised. You get Reaper, $50. Get yourself the program Reaper. Get a decent microphone and like a $300 laptop, and you can do a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've actually I up until recently I was using a laptop that I inherited from my dad, and that's what I did. You know, the first year of my channel on. You know, I wasn't really. I had a gaming rig, and I would use it sparingly. But now I've actually, you know, since the laptop died, I had to move everything to the tower, which is what I'm streaming on now. You know, I was using it exclusively for doing games, but you know, I figured why not? You know, I've got all this power, I might as well use it. But now I've got a laptop that I can actually do all of this stuff on as well, so I can mobile edit. It's just getting everything set up in well, basically parody.
I mean, the other challenges that you guys have, because to let the audience know, you do a little bit of drawing, and
oh yeah, yep.
And part of that like the pain of streaming that is having the computer that can run the program, have the layers, let you go ahead and draw all that stuff, and show it on screen at the same time.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, and I don't even do nearly as intense as some stuff. Like my co-host on Do You Even Read? Ink Spots. I mean, he's a colorist, and you know, he'll be on stream and he'll be streaming with us, and he'll have like all of these layers, and just I can only imagine like the workhorse that his computer has to be in order to do that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just the RAM or if it's got to be the RAM, the GPU and the processor. They've all got to be running in tandem in order to do it smoothly. You know?
Added graphics card a little bit. I mean, what I did for my rig for streaming is I just bought an old Office PC that was just kind of like maxed out. You know what I mean, for a couple $100, and I added a graphics card, and I was like, bam, there you go.
100%. As long as the motherboard will has a slot for the graphics card, and you're good to go. You know.
Oh, it definitely changed the game for me.
Yeah, those old Office computers, they spec them out so that they don't run slow. Because that's another one of the things that I do. I do freelance tech support. Like my creative endeavors are you know, music and comics and art, and obviously my YouTube channel is fun as well. I mean, I do YouTube for fun. This is for fun, to hang out, to network, to get to know my audience. Like you know, I make money doing freelance computer work.
There we go.
Until I have my comic out, then we move forward.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of projects popping off, and that's one of those things that's kind of like difficult to pick a time sometimes, and then also be committed. But I mean, I know that there's a lot of things going on. What I'm waiting for is for things to even out a little bit, because there's so much like expansion and growth going on in the whole like CG scene that where people can actually work with each other. They can get on, because what's happening is like people, it's feast or famine, right? People either have no work or they have a bunch of work, and they have so much work that they can't work with the other people that would perpetuate some of the projects for them, would help them build up some of the stuff.
Well, and also it's a matter of getting used to delegating. You know, a lot of people in this scene are very, very much DIY. You know, I'm just, you know, used to doing it themselves. So being able to, I don't know, being comfortable enough to, you know, pass something off to delegate it off to somebody else to have it get done. Yeah. I think that might be part of the issue, because I know personally as a writer and an artist, like I do both. So I'm not used to writing something and handing it off to somebody else to do the artwork. You know, I'm more comfortable taking, you know, a script from somebody and doing artwork, you know, that in that regard. But like delegating somebody to but the way I write, I'm just used to, you know.
Well, my question is, though, just out of curiosity, you never thought, like, what would someone would do with your words? You know what I mean? Because you have your image on what you would do, but you never just had that curious thought, like, what would, you know, like Boob Dan or something, like a specific person even, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy, like, or like a Dan. Right. I'm naming people who draw really fast and really cool.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like
a little bit. I mean, I've always expected to draw my own scripts, I guess is what it is. You know, I've always just expected, like, if I can come up with it and write it, well, then I can just go ahead and draw it.
You're the writer, director of your...
Yeah, well, and also, kind of the way I write sometimes, it's not so much... it's not so much just words. I often will just storyboard something because it's visual shorthand for me. It's quicker for me to, just do a couple of, storyboards to get like the beats of an action scene down or what's going on in my head for this whole scene, rather than write this whole thing out and then this person did this and then this person did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the way my my brain works. So handing off a script like that, I mean, I guess you could do that, but
So any project that you were involved in, like if someone said like someone put together an anthology and they said like I want a 3 to 5 page like little mini script, you'd want to draw that.
I'd probably thumbnail it out, at least, But if they wanted just writing and they had an artist in mind for it, I mean, I could do it. It's not my natural way of working. Yeah.
No, I see. Like the way you said that, you're like, no, I want to draw the goddamn panel.
Well, yeah. But that's always been the thing that I want to do. And if it's my stuff, of course I can draw it.
Yeah.
But when it's somebody else's stuff, it's like, okay, I don't know. It's a little bit easier to draw somebody else's stuff because you just try to bring out what they have told you. You try to bring forth their vision. When it's yours, it's trying to crystallize it and not like let your mind, well, maybe you should modify this, maybe you should modify that. The constant revision thing.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That
the second guessing yourself. They're like, did I make a bad move? Instead of just like learning and
instead of just letting it go. Yeah. I mean, Mark Silvestri is famous for saying, "Kill your darlings." There's, you sometimes you just gotta let it go. You gotta roll forward because you can't noodle a page to death.
Well, and you never know like what strikes other people. Like you do something nonchalantly, and you're like, oh, I don't even like this, but it looks like maybe it's like artistically put together, right? There's nothing wrong with it. You just don't personally like it, but you did it. And then someone else is like, I fucking love this, man. This is the greatest thing you ever did. And I'm like, no, all these other things are technically better. I did all these better things that I actually like.
I spent more time on this. Yeah. There's no accounting. Yeah. There's no accounting for what people are gonna resonate with, man. And you gotta roll with that. But yeah, that's usually how it goes. This thing that you just kind of do, casually, offhandedly. You're not even thinking about it. People rave about, and this thing that you just poured all of this thought and energy into. And I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if when you do that, you I don't know, kind of tamp it down too much. Like you flatten the creativity a little bit, like you over render the spark. I don't know. It takes away a little bit of the magic, I guess.
Okay. So I'm pretty familiar with most people, like what they're talking about. Can you release any details or anything that, like, story-wise on your personal book that you're thinking about cooking and bringing to the forefront? Because I've been seeing you all around, but I've never seen you say a word about your project.
Well, that's because I learned a long time ago about sharing bits without being ready to go whole hog.
Okay.
So I mean, it's part of 3 different stories. The first book, and they're interconnected in a way.
Okay.
And the first one actually takes place in my town.
Oh, there you go.
And this is all stuff that I think I have said before.
I think you said it.
Yeah. It's definitely the first book is set in Florida, and it's set in my little town here.
Well, one of the things I was thinking about, like, because I'm actually working on doing a little bit of music production with a couple of my friends, and so we're gonna put out a couple of songs on the Outcast Owls channel. But the other thing I thought about was, like, because I've been talking to all these creators, so many good artists and stuff, and it's like, if I can get the time from them, if they have the time, I have the cash, maybe doing some kind of comic anthology. Because I was really thinking about it. One of the things that I really like, and that, like, is kind of gone away because magazines have gone away. They're not as prevalent. Is those mini cartoon, those mini comics. It was like 3-page or 1-page, like where it's several sections. It's a whole story on one page. And I love that little breakdown kind of thing. I would love to see, like,
Oh yeah.
and I want to go, because I want to go back to like the golden, like what I think is the golden creativity of America, like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We were just making movies, dude. We did budgets. We're like, you know what? We don't have a budget, so it's going to be in the desert, and we're going to have bikers, and we're going to have hippies, and we're going to have aliens, and we're going to do all this shit, like, and whatever we can make work.
Be creative with it. Yeah, there was definitely a DIY spirit back then, for sure. And
I miss that.
Oh, for sure. Well, necessity is the mother of invention, man. So if you're trying to make something and you need it to look a certain way, you figure out a way to make it happen.
Well, it's just, I miss exploitative, like, entertainment, or what's considered exploitative today, because I think that's kind of like a dual-edged sword, because on one hand, for certain actors, it made their careers. It made a career for them that they would have had without those movies being made. And on the other hand, you say, well, it was an exploitation of the culture or whatever. I think that, all like forms of like communication, like in art, whatever, is just it's somebody's thought on our culture or whatever, and I don't think that it should be stamped down. We should just let it free, and like, if you don't like something, don't support it. Whatever you love, you put love into. Fuck what you hate. Like my new motto is like, just fuck what you hate. Just don't worry about it.
Don't give it oxygen. Don't give it air. No, I can agree with that. Grindhouse films back in the the late 70s into the early 80s. They didn't Grindhouse theaters did not last very long into the 80s.
Oh man, I think you just encapsulated my idea. I think you just helped, like, free-formed on air, just helped me, like, I think that's a better way to pitch it.
That Grindhouse aesthetic, man. Yeah, low budget, oftentimes, goofy horror movies. A lot of the exploitation films were shown in Grindhouse theaters, man. Oh yeah. This is actually an interest of mine as well. I love that aesthetic. I actually used to host a weird movie TV show here in town. It was called Surreal Cinema.
Okay. I was the ever-changing Mr. Essex, and we would talk about the film in between commercial breaks, and I would point out facts and,
little shit like that. Basically doing the whole Elvira thing. The horror host.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a lot of fucking fun. And that kind of birthed this interest in, grindhouse film and, black and white film. I've got a whole bunch of Hammer films up on VHS up here, just because I love old horror movies. Yeah.
Can I tell you, dude? This is a bitch in my life. So I was married for a long time, and then I was in a relationship that was just as long as my marriage, and I gave up all my shit both times. And in those times, like, either I gave it up, or people like spitefully did things to myself. But I have lost my VHS collection, and I used to have one hell of a VHS collection, and recently I lost my Blu-ray collection by accident, because like when I was moving out of the ex-girlfriend's house, she tossed all the boxes and shit at me. But like the one thing I didn't get was my Blu-rays, and I was like, and my MacGyver, dude, my fucking, I had all the seasons of MacGyver on fucking box set DVD with all the fucking like little mini series episodes. I had dude, and she doesn't even like that shit. She'll probably like use it for target practice or something, or maybe she'll wrap it up and give it to her new boyfriend. Who knows?
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? Brutal. But it's just like,
always get your shit, kids. Always get your shit.
Yeah. No. Pick women wisely. Don't move in with it. Once they move in, they claim to a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah. My ex-wife took the majority of the DVDs, and she took pretty much all the board games as well. Like all the fun, cool, it takes a little bit to set up, and then you're playing for hours or a couple of days board games.
Man.
Yeah.
Can I tell you that that's something I miss? Now, I love Dungeons and Dragons, and I love all those that kind of stuff. I'm a second edition player mostly myself, because I feel like anything beyond second edition just has a bunch of extra stuff that's mostly built for hack and slash. It's just, but it's mostly, I feel like it's just power boost for hack and slash players, as opposed to like, you roll these base skills, and then like, I don't know, maybe your character's a little dumb and you just have to deal with you're just a little
Your
dumb.
character's a little dumb. Yeah, maybe you roll like shit. Yep.
You know what I mean? But
No,
but
I
I
hear
mean
you,
that's
man.
what
That's-
makes the fun of playing. That's the challenge of it. Like the
Well,
fact
yeah,
that
exactly.
your character might not make it to level 5. It might die at level 3. You might make it. You might make some kind of miracle play to level 13, and then he dies of something fucking stupid because he's a dumb character. But that's the fun of like the whole game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, and it all depends on the GM. If you've got a good GM, then it's going to be a fun campaign no matter what happens.
Yeah, you just have to worry about the people who are just like, I'm a monk level fucking this prestige class thing, blah blah blah. I'm 32 different things, and I have this super special weapon armor, and I'm gonna roll this thing with all these fucking plus bonuses, blah blah blah, and I'm gonna obliterate everything.
You mean the min maxers?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
all of that,
I
that
mean,
kind of stuff. Now, I haven't played 5th edition, and 5th edition looked like basically 2nd edition with the Skills of Powers add-on. So I don't know how many people are
I'm not super familiar
that.
with 2nd edition, so
So Skills and Powers is like what led to like 3.0 and 3.5. Like
Yeah.
that's the first taste of it, because before the books only went up to 20. Now you're like, you go up to level 30. And this is where they had all that additional stuff that they didn't have before. That's more common in the D20
Right.
systems. Gonna say
Yeah.
that I miss the old math, that I like using all my dice, that I'm just not a D20 system. I know it's open source, and I get it. I get it's open
Yeah.
source, but Jesus, man.
Hey man, the beauty of it is, as long as you got the old books and your dice, you can still play that way.
I had all the
Yeah.
old books, and then I got divorced, and I had to sell them. I had to sell all my 1st edition, dude. I had Bolo's Guide.
Hold on,
I had
hold on.
that.
Okay. Wow.
My entire-
It's sad because I hear because I work in my local comic shop as well.
Yeah.
I work in my childhood comic shop, so I hear this often. I hear the horror stories of like, oh yeah, I went away to college and my mom, gave away my comics, sold my comics, used them to line the hamster cage. And I'm like,
Oh,
no!
Oh no!
And
Oh,
it
no.
hurts every
If it's
fucking
anything
time
from
I
the
hear it.
90s, that just hurts me. It just hurts my soul, because you need as much 90s material to be in circulation as possible right now. I don't recognize comic book shops anymore, dude. Now they're mega game stores that might have a small section of books for us. People who
Yeah.
still like that. And I'm a graphic novel guy, so they usually care more of what I like, because
Mhm.
I appreciate the book supporters, but man, I'm a big fan of just getting the big fucking meaty book when the project's done, and just fucking.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like binge watching a streaming show. Getting a trade, especially like you get one of the big thick boys that's got like 12 issues in it. Shit, that's a whole season right there of content basically, and especially if it's some older stuff, they knew how to, tell dense, entertaining stories that weren't like this decompressed for the trade. They were just telling a story. They were telling a story at an exact pace, and now a lot of stories they're told a little bit slower. They're decompressed to fit the trade so that we can sell more. And I hate saying that because we sell lots of trades, but at the same time they do right for the trade. Like what used to take maybe an issue to do, it now takes 3. Think Dragon Ball Z fight scenes. Next time on Dragon Ball Z. This time on Dragon Ball Z. It's just like, but that kind of decompressed storytelling works in certain aspects, but when everything is decompressed like that, things trudge along and people don't feel like they're getting much of a story. It feels like fluff. You can tell when it's filler.
Here's a geek question. On your how did you first consume Dragon Ball? Because I found mine through Canadian tapes, and I got the original ones with the Japanese people not clothed.
You're talking about the OG Dragon Ball?
The
when
OG
Goku and
Dragon
Krillin
Ball,
were
yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
I discovered Dragon Ball after discovering Dragon Ball Z through Toonami, and then I got on the internet, and I was just like, oh. So, this is what came beforehand. So watch some of that online, the subtitled, whatever I could find back in the God, this was
99.
Yeah,
Yeah,
98,
had to be
99.
99. It had to
Yeah,
be.
because I was in high school. But yeah, once I got to the end of the Frieza saga, I was like, all right, how long does this go on?
Yeah, right.
And then it went on forever, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I don't need to keep watching this. And I kind of gave up on anime at the same time, because I used to go to Blockbuster and like rent all the anime VHS.
God, Blockbuster, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you. This is a crunch. Oh, you know what? We're gonna switch it. These are shades from the last Blockbuster in America in Bend, Oregon, and I drove
Holy shit.
6 hours from Spokane, Washington, to go down there and check that place out along with some other
Holy
things.
shit, man.
And dude, no. What makes me mad is that all these assholes backed Redbox, right? And Redbox never had. This is the thing. If there's a popular movie in Redbox, how many slots does a Redbox have? 5 for it, 2 for it, 1 for it. So
Right.
if you want to go rent the most popular movie that's out right now, you're never going to get it. Whereas when I used to go to Blockbuster, I walk in, there was this magic golden light that would peer over the new rental section, and there'd be 50, 200 fucking copies of the goddamn thing. And if I couldn't get that day, I could go talk to the Blockbuster guy. Like, as soon as it returns, I want a copy, man. I'm just saying. So, like, you got anything in the return bin?
Video stores.
You know what I mean?
Man, like, and to be able to rent video games for like your console.
No, not just rent. When they mark that shit down, buy. I used to clear.
That's where most of my
house.
PS3 games came from, man. I've got a library of PS3 games that I'd go in there just to look at what video games they had put on clearance. Like in some games that I wouldn't pay $50 for, you pay $10 for. Yeah, this is actually a fun game. $50, I'd have been pissed off, but
Dude, I found some of the sweetest games ever because of Blockbuster. I found Matt Hoffman's Triple X BMX because of that. and I didn't know when I bought it. I just thought it was a BMX game. I know it's the 90s where fucking X Games are going on. I was kind of into skateboarding a little bit. I was, not very great at it, but trying to.
Right.
And I saw that and I was like, cool, fucking let me pick this up. It's like $10 in the bin. I'll pick it up with like, 15 other games, whatever. And
oh, hell yeah.
I started playing it, unlocking all those scores, stripper scenes, and I was like, oh, shit. I was like, yeah, this is the greatest video game ever made. And I think it's the only game to date that has actual strippers from an actual strip club that exists in America, like dancing on the video game that you can unlock.
Yeah, I think so. I do believe it has that unique distinction. But yeah, do you remember G4? Do you remember when G4 was an actual thing where they actually talked
when
about
they had
video
like
games?
shows like screensavers and stuff. Yeah, back
where
in the
they
day.
would do like actual like history of Miyamoto. They did a history of Frank Miller at one point. Like it used to be a really cool channel, and it's sad that type of content wasn't enough to sustain the channel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know what I think is? I think that some people fucking give up on some things too early, and I've seen it a lot in like the comic book scene. And I think one positive would be just stick to your shows. Stick to your shows because people start doing some really interesting shit because they have like this knowledge, right? And then they'll start digging into things, and they might find things that they didn't even know, and they'll put together this well put video. Well, the way YouTube works is this live show shit. This is not what makes your YouTube grow.
No,
like some people
10-minute, 15-minute videos.
Yeah. The algorithm and what this platform was designed for is those videos, is making those short videos. And you know what? A lot of comic book people have the stuff to talk about. They just don't do it. And I want to see more of it because when they do it, it's great. I really enjoy the deep dives when you start telling me about this comic book artist, like some things that I didn't know about him personally. It brings more into it. Because for me, dude, like I'm a casual pop culture fan. Like I casually stick into a lot of different things, and I have deep knowledge of certain things that I really fucking fall in love with. But other things I have very base knowledge, and it seems like weird. Like you're not a comic book guy. You can't name any like famous comic book artists that aren't like CG or something. I'm like, Well, yeah, because that's not how I picked out comic books. You know what I used to
Yeah.
do? I used to walk into the fucking store and I looked around and I first found a cover that intrigued me. Then I
Yep.
flipped through it, and if there was like some dialogue, because it's not like I'm not trying to be like a library, but if there was some dialogue that was intriguing without like fingering the book too much, then
Mhm.
you know that's the book I would set it to
Hell
the
yeah.
side and look through several other books, and then I would make a selection of a couple of books and just and it didn't I didn't go, oh, this is this writer, and then go look for another book. I just literally every time I
Yeah.
walk in there, I just pick up whatever book strikes my fancy.
Absolutely, man, and that's how most people pick out a book. You know, that's what the cover's for. The cover's supposed to grab your eye. It's supposed to grab your eye and pull you over and say, "Hey, come here. You want to see this story. You want to read what's inside here." You know, the cover is supposed to give you a taste of what is to come. You know, give you an idea of the story to whet your appetite visually. A lot of times now, the cover seems to just be, you know, pretty window dressing for a mediocre story inside, you know, and
Yeah.
and that makes me so sad because, you know, it used to be exciting to look at the new wall and see the new comics and know that there was going to be an exciting story in there. And
Well, I want to know what's wrong with this weird confidence thing that happened in America, right? It's like really weird. These major brands, they're major brands. They're DC, they're Marvel, or whatever. They're just having issues. They're having issues, and I'm like, how are you having issues with creating new content when literally, like like every time you bring something forward and advertise it correctly, it does well. I mean, the
Right.
whole like Shin-Chi thing is not doing too well, and a couple other movies didn't too well, but they weren't advertising
Yeah.
COVID hit. Like there's a whole difference
Yeah.
like at the beginning of the Marvel thing when they advertised shit the right way, they did like big fucking releases. There was no, you know, they if they
Yeah.
concentrate on that kind of stuff and release things the right way, you can do new material all the time. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, no one expected that to blow up like it did.
Not at all. Well, and the other thing is that at the beginning of, and this is my personal opinion, you know, at the beginning of the MCU, you had a bunch of people that were very eager and hungry to make something that the world had never seen before, you know, to do these accurate superheroes and to bring these characters to accurate life on screen. As the MCU has gone on, it has been more about these are all it's established, you know. Marvel is a brand that everybody knows now. Marvel's now a lifestyle brand and whatnot, and you get people that don't particularly care about these characters. They're not they didn't grow up reading them, which not a prerequisite to work on these films, mind you.
Yeah.
You know, you can become a fan at any time. That is my philosophy. But the thing about it is when you have people that don't know these characters, that don't do their proper research, like the lady that was writing for WandaVision, she'd never heard of Mephisto until fans were asking about it while she was doing the press for the TV series. There would be no Wanda's kids without Mephisto, so kind of a big
important.
deal.
Yeah.
If you're gonna actually do the whole WandaVision thing and their kids showing up, I don't know. Just call me
Well,
crazy.
Okay. So this is the thing, right?
So disingenuous people that want to put this on their CV is what it feels like. You know, they're not doing the due work to bring these characters to life, and maybe that's not the mandate anymore.
So I think this is where the positive comes out of the situation. We got the big people failing, and what's happened is we got good old like American spirit building up, and we have
Ingenuity, man.
people like people are coming out of the masses, and they're going to rebuild. I think that we're going to see a new DC and Marvel. I think in 50 years, 100 years, there won't necessarily be a DC and Marvel other than like a TV kind of brand or whatever, but you're going to see the rise
Perhaps.
of a bunch of new comic book companies. And because of the internet, the rise of the internet, you're going to see it globally. It's not going to just be American brands. It's going to be international brands. It's going to be Australian brands.
Absolutely.
It's going to be English brands. It's like
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole, you know, and then even I've seen a lot of South American artists start to jump into the fray.
Absolutely, man. The being able to communicate like this, you know, across the globe at any given time is an amazing tool for us to use. You know, this is amazing audience building tool. You know, because talking, I can talk to, you know, our Australian brethren and sister and our UK brethren and sister and, you know, that are working on comics as well, because we have, you know, the internet, because we can talk face to face. You know, there are artists that I would never have known about, you know, unless I would never have known about without this this scene, this this tool to be able to audience build. That's the beauty of this. And in the 80s, there was a booming independent comic market. It was more local thing, and it was obviously, you were kind of limited by your area. You would drive to different conventions, and then you would call out to different comic shops, be like, "Hey, I've got this comic. I've sold X amount here and there and whatnot." And then you try to build your own network. This was before. There was before Diamond, before previews.
Yeah.
So independent comic book creators, they hustled. They had to call different comic shops to see if they could get orders so they would know how many to print so they could then ship them out. What does that sound like now? It sounds like our crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah.
You have a story, you have an audience that you talk to, and you instead of going to a convention, I mean, you can still go to conventions, it's still part of it, but you have this. You have
so can I
scene.
tell you? Can I tell you where everybody from the top down is fucking up right now?
Yeah.
It is nobody has a street team. Literally, like the old school thing was getting out and meeting people, networking, and it never fails. Networking never fails to not benefit people. And so, like, if you had your street team on top of it going, you know what I mean? Like, not just like watching your shows and hitting the like buttons, which is an issue in the community. Everybody needs to start hitting the goddamn like button more in the comic book community. There'll be 900 people in a chat and fucking 300 likes. I'm like, what are you doing? But if those same people that show up for those streams every day went to their local comic book shops and they're across the nation and said, "Hey man, I'm buying these projects. Like, look what these projects are selling for. Look what they're doing. They have, there are bundles here for shops to buy. I would buy it from the shop if you had it, if you ordered it."
Mm-hmm. Well, see, and that's one of the things that I'm looking into. I mean, I don't run the shop that I work at, but I want I'm talking to the owner about the possibility of getting some of these indie books in. We actually had the Lost Pages from Zaid Comics, and that was because one of my regulars, who I introduced to the scene, I was like, "Hey, you should come check out these live streams that I've been hanging out on, man. There's a bunch of cool people, a lot of really cool comics." He started hanging out, and he started, backing books, and he backed one. He backed the Lost Pages twice, and he brought one in with, the stretch goals and all, and she put it out on the wall. And I had some dude actually put back some Big Two books just to pick up indie books. So. I mean, they're out there. It's just a matter of coaxing. Because people are used to the Big Two. They're used to the name Marvel and DC.
They are, but they got to look at the value that they're getting, because like all these CG books are all like, most of them. I mean, I have a couple that are like, but I bought a group of them that are just like 20 some pages or whatever. But most of them are 48 plus pages. They're like thick.
Yeah.
Solid story. You have a preview of the story and the artwork. You got to interact with the artist that like was creating the comic book while it was happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. And that's the beauty of this scene. And it, like I was saying, the early '80s scene, like that's where we ended. That's where we got the Ninja Turtles, man. That's where we got the Crow. Like those indie giants, these huge IPs, they started in that fertile black and white independent underground comic scene. Obviously the Crow is about a decade later.
What I was thinking today is I was like, you know what? If all these fucks want to just ruin all my childhood, go ahead and let them do it, because this is my thought. Go ahead and fuck it up 100 times so that the property is dead, right? You killed it.
Right.
Then people who actually know how to treat the property correctly can purchase it for bottom dollar rights. You know what I mean? Like some independent artist, maybe somebody from the CG scene, could sit there and purchase the rights to the He-Man to do the comic book and put out a proper, like
Do something that'll actually sell. Do
Yeah,
something that's
or
worth a damn.
maybe we can start moving this from just the comic books because it's moving into toys, but move into the film industry.
Oh
Start
yeah.
reaching out to the independent film creators and stuff, and seeing what we do. Start working with
Yes.
some of these people that are animators and stuff.
Oh yes, 100%, man. If they're not going to create, if we're not going to be able to find content that we want to consume, we must create our own. You know, and creator owned is the way to go. I mean, you have all of these well-known named creators that are jumping over to the Substack thing so they can do their own creator-owned thing. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't really looked into the Substack thing. I mean, it's kind of it looks like it's a direct consumer model and mostly digital, which is cool. You know, Patreon and stuff like that. You can do that. There's not a whole lot of concern to help the comic shops though. Like comic shop, and it makes me sad to think that perhaps comic shops will become, this quaint idea that doesn't really exist anymore. I mean,
Well,
Barnes and
like,
Noble
yeah.
doesn't have comics. Barnes and Noble has a little bit of graphic novels, and they have a shit ton of manga.
Manga. There's a fuck
know?
ton of manga.
But
yeah.
if you go and look at the manga section, it is organized. You can find things really easily. You can see
Well,
the
yeah,
volume
it's
numbers.
1 through 48 is on the shelf. Like you
Yep.
can oh well, if you like the series, oh fuck, I can buy everything. I can come back
Yep,
here
you
and
can
get
get the whole
everything I
thing.
want.
Yep. And that's the reason for that is because obviously the stuff has been put out for years and years and years, and finally collected and then shipped over here. What a lot of people don't realize is that there's a lot more stuff produced over there that doesn't make it to our shores. They have an industry that is healthy over there, and they have a lot of churn and burn. There's a lot of stories that just don't make it. There, just like there's a lot of independent stories here that, don't make it sometimes. They have their little following, but the ones that are really popular in I don't know a lot about manga. I'm trying to learn more about it, but the shonens, where they collect them all together, it's like an anthology, it's a little square-bound thing, comes out on newsprint, and the more popular ones in those, from how I understand it, get collected into the square-bound books that we know as manga over here. Those are the things that get collected. The ones that are, on newsprint, they get read and tossed away like a newspaper.
Yeah.
So
there's a bunch of. I actually had a friend that was from Japan, and he would get the proper Japanese shonen when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stories that are in that shit that are not in any kind of
Yeah.
American version of a shonen.
Yeah,
There's all
it's
kinds
just
of
because
crazy topics.
Oh yeah, well, and see, that's the thing about it is that comics are an amazingly unique medium. Whether it's manga or American comics, that you can tell a story, that you can't necessarily tell with a movie. You can have a certain feel and a mood with a piece of artwork. Like for example, one of the last Do You Even Read that I did with ink spots was Weapon X. There's no way to really get the impact of that scene of Wolverine just going berserk in the middle of the fucking Weapon X facility, just shredding through all of these soldiers. There's no way to achieve that same impact that Barry Windsor Smith's artwork had. Seeing that, just the sheer ferocity of it. It's just I've read it in a novel form. They tried to show some of it, as far as like the movie goes. None of it has the same impact of seeing that image of just the sheer animal ferocity of Logan as the berserker ripping through all of these Weapon X facility soldiers. Like there's no compare, and that's the beauty of comics. Watchmen is another example that's unfortunately a little played out. Back when I read Watchmen, it wasn't a movie. They had been talking about doing a movie forever, and it actually had an impact on me because I was reading this adult story for the first time, and it actually was a thinking comic, and it was cool, and then everything had to be like it. Everything else had to come along and deconstruct superheroes. The thing about Alan Moore is, yes, he deconstructed the superheroes, but he put them back together.
Yeah.
You know, because he loved superheroes. He loved comics. That was the whole fucking point that most people miss. Oh, well, Alan Moore just rips superheroes apart and does this. No, he tears them down, analyzes what makes them fucking tick, and then he puts them back together and makes them actual heroes. I mean, if you look at the end of Watchmen, they actually become the heroes that, you know, their humanity has kept them from being.
Is that not the most mind-blowing thing to you? Like, literally, if I was an executive of a movie company, if Disney hired me tomorrow to head up the Marvel division,
yeah,
I would literally just go to Marvel and I would have them pull me a report. What are the most popular storylines in the history of Marvel? That's the next 10 movies. It's that simple. Like it's the same thing with Star Wars is even easier. Star Wars, you could make bangers all day because there is an entire fucking novel series that's hundreds of fucking novels that goes in 1,000 different directions. That's canon. You never have to. All you have to do is have a screenwriter that can translate what's in the novel to the screen. You don't need anything else. All the canon's there. All the stories there. It's proven. The worst part is that it's proven. One day I'm hoping to see a good Dungeons and Dragons movie because they just keep they keep screwing them over because like it's like now that we have like you know what I mean after seeing like Lord of the Rings and stuff, like if you put money into weird like geek stuff or whatever, you could make really cool epic movies. It's like let's do it. Let's not cheat it with a Marlon Wayans fucking appearance. Like
see, and that I don't know, it in my opinion, it's usually the executives that get in the way of something like that actually happening. You've got filmmakers that are like trying to be true to something, and then studio oversight has a tendency to squash it. At least that's the way it seems from what I've read about certain productions. I mean, I'm thinking specifically of like Spider-Man 3. You know, obviously that's not a Dungeons and Dragons movie, but studio oversight was a big reason why that movie felt like a jumbled mess. And I feel like that happens a lot with these properties. You know, executives need to feel like they actually do something to earn their exorbitant paychecks, so they've got to, give meaningless notes that, fuck with things just because they have to have their thumbprint on it.
I would just give notes like, good job. You followed the
Well, then you don't get an executive producer credit, and you don't get more money.
No, you do by just saying like this was half my idea. Like, half my idea, and anyways, it was a good one, and we're following. But I mean, you know what I mean? There's it's written. Nothing new needs to be written. These are all home runs. There's thousands of stories for so many different properties, and it's just like, let's do it. And the other thing is like, quit editing stuff and quit changing my shit. Let's just keep all my shit the same because it's silly because it's been proven we can just make new shit because whenever you edit something, right? Whenever you change it, it doesn't make it cool. Nobody really accepts it. It's never the same. So it's like just make something new because whenever you make something new, people accept something new. Don't Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you make something new and you put like actual heart into it, like you put effort into making it something, and like you're actually trying to breathe life into it and create something with it. Yeah, people are going to resonate. People are going to respond to it. If you're just trying to slapdash something together so you can have the next big hit, then people are going to recognize that, and it's going to come across as hollow. Like it. I don't know. There's an energy associated with creating something.
Yeah, what I think is, a little weird thing that I think is funny though is people want to downplay like the monetization of things and like, oh, this TV show was only created because there was a toy line when I sell toys. But you know what? Because of that beautiful capitalistic system, I got fucking G.I. Joe, and G.I. Joe was awesome. You know what else I got? I got a fucking battleship that's the size of a fucking coffee table. That's what I got.
That thing's fucking badass, man. Seriously.
I got
my cat slayer. Still got my thunder tank, my cat slayer, my snake mountain, all my Thundercats, my He-Man shit, my Voltron. I love that stuff, And okay, so it was created to sell the toys. I love those toys.
Yeah,
I am very thankful that I still have those toys. They bring me much joy to this day.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a fair trade. I don't understand.
Like,
What
I
is it
mean,
was.
so fucking what? Like they put and they had to put the PSAs in the cartoons, so it wasn't just a half-hour commercial,
Yeah,
But I mean, the funny thing is, what are movies? What are movies that we watch? They're stories to entertain. The cartoons were stories to entertain, and yes, they had toys to go along with. But I mean, we've got merch, we've got TV shows, we've got T-shirts for TV shows, we've got T-shirts for movies. We've got apparel for movies. Like, how is that any fucking different than a cartoon for a kid? Just because you want to sell them toys.
well, it seems different, right? People want to make this distinction. They're like, oh, well, the property, the movie existed first, then the toys. Instead of the toys was a concept, and then the product, like the TV show came. But I was like, what's the difference? Because if one leads to the other, or the other one leads to the other, and I'm happy with both. Either way,
right?
I got badass toys and a really great TV show that I
it's
still
a beautiful
love.
Ecosystem, man.
I
Like,
still
you've
watch
got these
it.
cool toys that you want to sell with a gimmick. All right, make a TV show or a comic book to have a story to go along with it. That's making a creative, an imagination vehicle for the child. That's giving the child a story to go along with, whether they stick with it or move on to their own story, whatever. But it gives them a starting point. So this whole idea that it's just treated to sell toys, so fucking what? It's an asinine argument.
That's when you make me think about it, makes me think about Power Rangers. And my thought, how brilliant it is how somebody just took something, a Japanese property,
Super Sentai.
brought it over here, repackaged it a little bit, and I'm like, that's exactly what we need to do with comic book movies. Like, it's so that's like the words are there, the scripts are there, the scenes are the storyboard. It's all storyboarded out, and now like the great thing is that we can make it even better because we have. It's not like Blade, and I love Blade, but like. Where like
that
you
first
can tell
Blade movie's
that
fucking great.
you can tell that CG like on some of the stretches on.
Oh
like,
yeah, well
screen.
CG it never ages well. That's why practical effects, man.
Oh,
Practical
no.
effects all the way.
That's why I'm a big '80s horror movie fan because I'm a fan of the original Star Wars, not because I'm just like some asshole was like fuck the first three and then definitely fuck the last three. I'm not that kind of like special guy, but for
Wait,
the
they made 3 more?
Yeah, right. But for the fact that like it looked real to me, you know what I mean? Because it had puppets, because they were in a bar.
Shot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's actually on film. John Carpenter's The Thing. Like that, the animatronics that they did, I believe it was Stan Winston's Creature Shop. The animatronics on that movie, like the reason why they look so fucking good to this day is because that shit was actually there and they actually filmed it. So it's casting real shadows. Your mind sees it there, and it accepts it as real. The problem with CGI is you run into the uncanny valley. Yeah, you can model something to look super fucking real, but it gets to the point where your brain's like, yeah, no, that I don't care how real that looks. That is not real, and that's what they call the uncanny valley. When CGI looks a little too real, and your lizard brain goes, fuck no, that's fake. Yeah. Yep. That's why that's why practical effects.
Oh, I mean, like
CG just doesn't age.
People don't realize like how much work went into movies like The Howling. Like
fucking A, dude. Like for real. Like yeah, those practical effects, man. Holy shit. Like a lot of work went into that. Like the American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah.
Just the fucking transformation scene. Like, and they have to actually think this shit out. They got to plan this shit out.
Well, then not just think it, you got to build it. Like it's okay. It's one thing to draw something or sit there and kind of like do a mechanical drawing, but then you have to source the parts and actually build the fucking thing. Like that's the most amazing part to me. Like you're building a robot that's gonna spit out all this stuff and it has this artificial body around it that's moving and looking like this thing, and it's got slime and shit's pulsating out of it, and like, it has to do all these things, and it has to look like the actor at the same time. Like, it was amazing. Or just like I love a lot of Sam Raimi effects, like this, like even like newer ones, like Drag Me to Hell. Like,
I actually never saw Drag Me to Hell. I was skeptical because I don't feel like PG-13 horror is usually a thing that's worth my time.
It's more comical. You know what I mean? It's more like a stoner, comical laugh kind of movie than it is like a horror thing. But like the effects are cool. Like it's a cool,
Yeah.
cool vibe.
Well, cool. Oh, all right. Well, then that will actually make me go check it out because I mean, I like Sam Raimi. You know, I mean, I've got Evil Dead poster on my wall over here in the living room. You know, but I was like PG-13 horror. I just
Yeah, no, it's
the last
hard.
one of those. Actually, to be fair, what was it? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That was actually PG-13 horror done really well. But again, you had Guillermo del Toro helping out with the script, so yeah. Yeah,
But
of course
okay,
it's gonna
so
be good.
you know, this is what mind boggles me about the industry, dude. They just let the weirdest people become whoever, wherever, with the craziest ideas. They're just like, hey, we'll just give you millions of dollars to do something on random, and it plays out. And then other shit that's a sure
Right.
bet, they're just like, nope, we're not gonna we're gonna go the opposite direction that nobody who ever paid for this property has ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if they're gonna like it. We don't know what's going on.
We don't really care.
Just
We're
gonna
just gonna
sell
try
it.
to sell it. Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing with properties, IPs. You know, I actually, and it makes me sad to say this, I actually am not excited about any upcoming IPs. You know, like movies or TV shows based on IPs that I know.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
I don't,
actually.
I don't care.
I'm waiting to
know?
see crushing failures on all of them. So, like I said, they can hit a rock bottom price, and maybe, like I can, get like a group of investors together and make some kind of crazy financial
Right.
deal. You know what I mean? Like one of those really brilliant fucking maneuvers.
Really, yeah, one of those sweet deals. Yeah, yeah, totally, man. I mean, shit, it could happen.
Dude,
You know?
I mean, they're killing him. I just like, I mean, what I mean? There's a laundry list of shit that they're killing. I'm like, good, check. Like, you're gonna kill GI Joe next, good, check. Like, I mean, because they're doing that too. So let's keep going with it. But eventually, you get my entire childhood, and I'll be able to buy all these things and make them right.
And then put them to rights. There you go.
Just you know what I mean? Just like, I don't know, open source unless you suck. If you have more than like 15 downvotes, then your property gets removed from the canon. Free for all. We're just gonna make the best fucking He-Man sagas ever.
It's just based on merit. You know, based on merit and ability to tell a story. Like, I mean, that's the way it used to be, right? I mean, obviously,
Well,
there's always a certain level of nepotism in certain things, but by and large, like when things are made by people that have the merit to make them, they're usually pretty good. You know, usually, I mean, nothing's perfect. No film or story is perfect, but I mean, damn. Usually, those usually those with the merit to make the stories usually deliver. Not always.
I would. You
But
know what? Oh, you just made me think. One perfect example of almost a word for word like adaptation novel to movie is A Clockwork Orange. Like you pretty much can write a book report off of the movie. Like you have to go back and read the last chapter because that's not in the movie. But
right.
like everything else is just almost fucking dead on. It's like,
I've actually never read A Clockwork Orange. I've seen the film. You know, I very much like the film, but I've never actually read it. I'll have to find it. Actually,
yeah, I want to see more of that stuff. I think it'll happen. And the other thing that I think is great is we have a lot of lessons learned, right? So we had like Superman, the originators of Superman. Those guys were broke. They had to sue. There's all these different things that happen. Now
Yeah.
we're in a whole new environment, and things are growing out of this creator-owned environment, and people can cut each other the right deals. It doesn't have to be that thing anymore. Like, you can either be a hired gun, an ink sling, and fucking just like, hey, one and done, get paid or whatever, or you can be a creative element. And if you have more of a creative force, work it out with the writer or whatever, and actually have a piece of the book and be a part of the property and the perpetuation of the brand.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to work it out that's beneficial to multiple parties. And
Well,
and,
you gotta have people that are actually passionate about telling a good story, man. If you got people that are there just because it's the thing to be a part of or whatnot, then you're not going to get a genuine product out of those people. You're going to get something that, I don't know, is tailored to, I don't know, try to appeal to the masses. And whenever you try to tailor something to appeal to the masses, it usually sucks.
Yeah, the
You know?
checklist. I mean, that's what happened to our movies and our
Yeah.
comic books and stuff is a checklist. So like it has to be a checklist. The problem is that there wasn't a checklist before, and so it was just a free for all. And there's a bunch of shit out there that's really popular that I give two fucks about. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care about, but it exists and somebody loves it, and not just somebody, but millions of somebody's love that property, and so fucking it's shit. It has
Yeah.
its existence. And that's like when you take off the reins and allow whatever to grow, then maybe your thing can grow. But like you shouldn't force feed or try to direct people in the direction, or things shouldn't like fit some kind of box because it just doesn't make sense. Eventually you're going to get down to something that's impossible, right? It's going to be the
Mm-hmm.
impossible machine. Let's write a comic book. Well, the comic book has to include all these different things. Well, but a person who's not all these different things can't write for those things. So you have to get all these other writers to join in with you to write all these things. But you can't have the same if you have a black writer, you can't have a white comic book artist drawing that character. So now you have to have another, right? You know what I mean? So at this
Right.
point, you have to have 52 people to do any one project, and you can't just go off of a shared experience or an understanding or whatever it is. And fuck, man, I don't know. I like the whole the audacity to be wrong or be crazy or to make something like. There's just so many wild films like if they were stomped out or censored, who knows? Like we wouldn't have South Park if we didn't have Orgasmo, or the Cannibal movie they did before that one. Like
Yeah.
it took those ridiculous movies, or like some of our like what is it? The guy that did Lord of the Rings, didn't he do like a bunch of like B horror movies and shit before he fucking?
Oh yeah. Peter Jackson's first one of his first films was Brain Dead.
Yeah,
It was the rat monkey. I was actually in my my Arthur Saddam interview that I just posted recently from 2008. We were actually talking about Brain Dead. I had never seen it at that point in that interview,
yeah.
but yeah, that movie's fucking great, man. It's a fantastic old horror movie. You've got the kung fu priest, and you got a dude like taking a lawnmower and strapping it to his arm and like using it to cut up zombies. It's a fucking great movie.
Yeah. How did you know
it's
that
awful, all
guy?
ridiculous shit.
How did
Huh?
you know that guy was gonna make a fucking like make a movie? A
Exactly.
bunch of elves that was gonna be fucking incredible. How did you know that he was gonna make King Kong and make that bad? Like didn't know that.
No, I
So
mean, there's no
like
way. There's no way of telling, man. There's no way of telling. But he had an idea for a film, and he was able to run with it. That's the thing. So yeah.
it's also that group sharing, man. Like that's all of society. I'm tired of I don't cultural appropriation doesn't exist. What exists is group mentality. Like this whole thing of like taking some cool shit. That's how we made cool shit. How do you think? You know what I mean? Like this guy like was chipping on a stone and he made a square corner and was like that square corner. I want to start chipping out some square corners. And then we did some other stuff. Like that guy made an arch. Well, look at that arch there. Well, like, what else
Mm-hmm.
we can do? And it's. But it takes that original thought, that freedom, that like unrestricted pool of just the ridiculousness that it is. And you get rid of that checklist and you just open it up. And there's gonna be a lot of stuff you don't like, but there's gonna be a lot of stuff that you do like, and we just let it turn and burn, like you said with the shonen, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. You gotta. I don't know, and we like to do a lot of comparing to manga and whatnot, and they're comics. They have a different outlook to reading over there than we do. The manga, the books, and everything. Reading is all over because they take trains everywhere. It's kind of like over in Europe, the European volumes that they do. The square bound stuff over in France and the UK and whatnot. There's a more of a culture of reading. We don't have to take trains, so we're not trying to entertain ourselves while we're waiting to get here, there, and everywhere because we drive. I mean, that's why I like audiobooks. But over there, manga is in every train station. The volumes. I think that's what they call them. Anyway, over in Europe, like they're in train stations, they're everywhere, because there's a culture of reading. It is a much more widely accepted thing than it is over here. Unfortunately, reading has never been the coolest thing. And, you know, oh, you read comics, haha, fucking nerd, you know, and that was my experience growing up. And now all of a sudden, you know, the shit that I grew up with is all the coolness. And it's I've been here the whole time, you know, and I don't want to be like, you know, I've been here the whole time, you know, I've been, you know, but I have. I've been reading comics since I was 3, and I realize there are people that have been reading comics a lot longer than I have, you know. But it is very interesting and frustrating to see it go from, you know, actually including everybody and having, you know, diverse characters that were characters organic. First and organic, like the X-Men. Like, I mean, Storm led the fucking X-Men.
Yeah.
And the majority of the team was women. We had Wheezy Simonson and Ann Nocenti writing amazing stories, doing amazing work for Marvel. But nope. All of you jackasses that showed up in the last fucking 10 years have been doing all the amazing work. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It irks the fuck out of me that these new writers will come in and they completely disregard the good shit that's come before just because they need to be first. They need to be this and that. Like the Shang-Chi guy. Ooh, didn't have any Asian characters to look up to. I'm sorry. Did Bruce Lee not come from China and have this amazing film career and do all of
Bruce
these
Lee,
amazing
Jet
martial
Li, Jackie Chan,
Sonny Chiba just died. I mean, you're an asshole, dude. Like the dude playing Shang-Chi is a fucking asshole. Like this is narcissism at its peak. Like, oh yes, I'm the first. No, you're not. You're not the first anything.
No. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's like because of Bruce Lee that they still sell nunchucks in New York from like 1960 whatever to fucking now. And
do you want to know why we have Shang-Chi? We have Shang-Chi because of Bruce Lee. Because they wanted a character like Bruce Lee. Because he was martial arts films were fucking huge.
They're awesome.
Huge. You know, that's why we ended up with a ninja craze, and why we ended up with the Ninja Turtles, you know? Like Ninjas and Daredevil. You know, that's where we got the Ninja Turtles from.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, the canister of ooze.
That freedom gave us ninja hamsters. You know what I mean? Like they gave us more room to play and have fun with, like, and from a different person's perspective. And I'm just sitting there thinking, that's the magic of all this. Like, you learn, you mix, you build new. Like, what's the problem with building new, too? That's my other question. Like, what's the problem with, like, taking a little bit of this, taking a little bit of that, and making something that's pretty nifty? Well,
again, you have to have creative individuals that are actually looking to make something and looking to tell a story instead of grandstand and, hit you over the head with their soapbox. You know, you can have a story. You can tell a story that actually has an underlying meaning. That is absolutely allowed, but you have to be a talented enough writer to work it into the story and not just bludgeon people over the head. Like, people respond well to good stories that then get a moral message across. People don't respond well to being beaten about the face, head, and neck with your point. Don't belabor your point when you're telling a story, you know? I don't know. Again, I think it comes back to the young adult stuff that these writers were reading. When I was growing up, I was reading fucking George Orwell, and I was reading Lord of the Rings. I was reading Dante's Inferno. I was reading, actual fucking good literature.
Real literature.
And, these, and even the young adult stuff. Like, there's a book I have up here called My Side of the Mountain. Hang on.
Alrighty. Bring it. We're busting out the material.
Alright, so these are both children's books. My Side of the Mountain and Sign of the Beaver. You know, these are not dumbed down. These are novels about, living life off of the land. Yeah. Especially this one. This kid, goes off on his own, finds his family's land, and he, learns how to survive. Finds a baby hawk and trains it and everything like that. But these are actual novels. They were written for kids, but they weren't written down to kids. You could still read these as an adult and enjoy them.
I would still make an argument even like with the Hardy Boys, man. I mean, like even if it was serialized like stuff like that still was way more, had way more substance to it than anything that I've seen come out YA.
Yeah. Well, that's because they were trying to entertain the kids. They weren't trying to propagandize to them. There is no entertainment anymore. It is only propaganda. And that's what we have to do differently. We can't let them continue to propagandize to us. We have to make our own stuff. That's
That's why we make our own pop culture. That's what I'm saying. It's own cult. You bring in your group, you build that group, you start spreading it out, let the presence be known. I think there's a lot of positive. I mean, there's been a lot of negative going on, and there's a lot of negative to harp on. But like I said, I think that it's going to open up doors, opportunities, and it's paving new ways. Like sometimes you have to clear out the forest. You have to burn it out to like make way for new growth. Destruction
leads to a very rough road, but it also breeds creation.
And so, I think we'll see it. We'll see it in music. We'll see it in movies. I think we're winning little victories here and there. We're not seeing new material all the time come out, but I think we are in certain aspects. And I think the more that we push it, and the more that the crowdfunding people work out together, and we keep moving this kind of thing. If we can get more comic book stuff and working into with some of the movie and music people, I think that we can get some real crazy stuff going on. Because there's a lot of musicians that are just on YouTube or just like on Spotify. They're independent artists that hundreds, thousands of spins. They put out a song, boom, it's paid for. They got money in the bank. These people, they're fans of pop culture and stuff too. They grew up on things like they have an audience that you never know what might strike their fancy. You have Ryan Upchurch collects Pokemon cards, country guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's that's the thing. Like, that's something from his kidhood. So like, you never know what people. And so it's like reach out. My thing is like reach out and get out, spread out, talk to other communities.
Absolutely, man.
Get it popping. Get known.
Gotta start building. That's the thing. Gotta start building. And as far as like YouTube channels and stuff go, like, I don't know, make content that you would watch. Everybody's always worried about like chasing content and whatnot. Nah, just make content that you would watch, that you would have fun with, and have fun with it. Again, you're building your audience. If you're making content that you enjoy, chances are you'll find the other fucking weirdos out on the internet and the rest of the world that enjoy the same content you enjoy.
Oh, for sure. Well, sir, I think you have a show coming up soon, don't you?
I do, actually. In about I scheduled it for 9:15 just to give me a chance to, go get another drink and hit the head and all that. But yeah, we're Ink Spots and I are doing X-Men Alpha tonight on Do You Even Read?
So this would be a part of the show where you plug all of everything that you do, so that we can let the people know. You've been a great guest. I appreciate your time, and I hope I can have you back.
Oh yeah, man. This was fun. I'm always down to talk pop culture and specifically comics. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I do when I'm in the shop, But yeah, you can find me at Death Metal Hero on Twitter and Instagram and of course the YouTubes. I do the Sing Along of Doom, where I sing songs occasionally, mostly just butcher them horribly, and scream into the microphone, which is a lot more fun than it sounds. I'm currently working on my book, which is set in my little town here in Florida. And I'm working on Shay, Gaslight. I'm working on her horror anthology. I've got a story in there. Let's see. And this coming up week, I will be doing a, new book, Who Dis? I'm going to have my buddy Matt, who did Butch Cleaver. He's going to be coming on so we can showcase his new book. And I've got a what's in the box I got to do for the Lady Death stuff that I got. So more content coming from the channel. Yeah.
Very nice.
I actually just posted up 3 videos of old interviews I did back in 2008 when I was doing last Wednesday. So those are fun as well.
Well, Luke's just plugging his channel. He's being modest, but you can find Luke on like Red Valkyrie. You can find Luke on so many channels. So many.
You can find me on Red Valkyrie. You can find me on Boob Dan Art. You can find me on Unhinged Entertainment. Tuesdays, Jason and I do Topicless. We switch it between my channel and his. I believe that this coming Tuesday it's going to be on my channel. But I hang out, man. I love being a part of this scene because there's a lot of cool, creative individuals, and that's the kind of people I want to hang out with. I want to be around people that are passionate about what they do and they're excited about what they do and they want to create something. I want a group of contemporaries that are driven to make good content. I think that's how we win. We make good content. Yeah.
I think that's a great note to go out on, and I appreciate your time. And you can check out all the links for Luke in the description of this video. And on that note,
appreciate that.
Peace.
Later.